So, hi you guys. Today I'm going to actually start you out by looking at some other artwork of these cute little otters. This one is done with ink pen and some colored pencil. Okay, check out his eyes. See how they look kind of sad? This one here is done out of pencil, and then using a sketching pencil has been darkened, and a stump has been shaded. This one here is more animated. This one's done with ink and watercolor. And this one here was done with acrylic paint, another more animated. And then here's another one done in watercolor and oil pastel. Now you can tell how they're all a little bit different. They're all looking the same way. Everything that I've done on each one is very similar. We're going to do one more similar to this one today, except I'm not going to do all the shading and highlighting. I'll let you decide. So a little bit more on the realistic side. Check out the difference between the two eyes. We are going to be recreating the more realistic ones, but I think these really sweet eyes are cute too. Okay, so with that said, let's get started. All you need today is a school pencil. So what I'd like you to do is start with your eraser and making yourself a nice oval shape over here on this side. Okay, once you've got a pretty nice oval shape that's sort of diagonal, then trace it, always drawing lightly until your drawing is finished. Now that is not an option for me. I'm actually going to switch to a darker pencil so that you guys can actually see my drawing. So hopefully I won't make too many mistakes because it actually makes it hard to erase with this pencil. Okay, so start with your school pencil. The next is to put his little nose in, and it's really the top of the nose is dead center in your oval. So think of where the very middle is. And what you're going to do is angle down, angle down. Now when you create his nose, the top of the diamond-shaped nose is going to be longer than the bottom side. And you can see that in what I'm doing right here. See what's happening? This part is, it's also not super pointy on the edges. It's kind of rounded. You want that top to be close to the center. Anything similar to that's going to work. Then starting above his nose, you're going to curve down on the left and curve down on the right. And now look at the space and see if you look pretty balanced. If you don't, you could always change it a little bit. This is a good time to change it. I'm going to see that it would actually be easier for me if I just added a little more to his face up here. So that's what I'm going to do in changing this line. That way we're a little more close to symmetrical, making one side of the face look similar to the other. Then we have a little short line right here. And actually they just curve a little bit here to be more realistic, but I always like them to look a little friendlier. You can see that in here that I curved it up more. Okay, so you kind of decide, you know, what look do you want? If you want to curve it up a little more and make it more realistic. They don't really smile like I made it smile. Then I'm just going to curve here and curve here. This becomes his chin area, his cheek area, and then up here is the bridge of his nose coming towards you. That's like the face that protrudes a little bit. Now, because you're seeing him front view, he has this really wide forehead. His eyes actually get seen more as an oval shape when you're looking at them directly, like this photo. That doesn't mean you couldn't draw them more rounded, but they actually look more oval shaped. I'm also going to put a little highlight in each eye up in the right-hand corner. So here's my oval shape like this. Then check that your eyes look like they're the same size. So you don't have one big one and one little one. Anything close is pretty good. Okay? Now, he does have a little bit of an eyelid shape. So what I'm going to do is just kind of bring it over the top and down and bring it over in the top and down. And that's really more shading than an actual line. So that kind of gives you his face minus his little ears. And his ears are really small and they're pretty far on the side. You want to overlap the edge And then look at the space from here to here and here to here, how it lines up with the eyebrow, and make sure you're not really far off on how you want his face to look. And erase any lines that are inside his ears. You'll see that my face is not perfectly symmetrical. Believe it or not, neither is yours. So as long as it's close, you're okay. That's a little curve for the top of the ear. That's the inside of the ear. Top of the ear, inside of the ear. Looking at them, do they look similar in size? Not that they have to be the same as mine. He does have these little black nostrils way down here at the bottom, like that. I'm going to go ahead and fill those in for now. Okay, so that kind of gives me my face. I do want him to look like he's laying in the water. So whenever you're putting any creature laying in the water, remember to make the bottom of it parallel with the bottom of the page. But before I do that, this line is really important. You don't want his shoulder to line up with his cheek here. It either has to be lower or higher. So you kind of have to decide what looks better. I'm going to do mine higher. Don't line up with that line because then it looks like a continuation of that line. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap his little arm forward like this. And I'm going to go up on this side and wrap his little arm forward. Notice I'm not putting them exactly together. Okay. For now, I'll just put a little curved paw in that's kind of wide. And I'll put a little curved paw in that's kind of wide here too. Okay. Now to make him look a little bit better, I'll make that line a little longer. So this is where we're going into the water. His arm's kind of overlapping the water, and this would be my horizontal line that is parallel. I don't want him to go too quickly into the water, and I also don't want him to go really far out or I can't get his feet in. So I'm just going to bring his tummy down in a downward slope until it disappears into the water, like this. I am going to darken that line so you can see it better, but I'd still draw lightly if I were you. Now, when drawing feet coming out of the water, you don't want to put them right on top of each other. You always put the one that's behind closer to the body and the one that's in front over here to the right. So I am going to do that. 1 foot here. This is the bottom of the foot. And then I'm going to reach over here and do the other foot. I'm giving him a little bit of distance because he actually puts his little feet out. They're webbed feet, kind of like a duck. A little bit like a duck. They actually have a little more of a finger look to them. If you really want to look at them online, you could. So first foot, I'm going to have a little curve here and then come out to where the toes are. And then I'm just going to bring this out. The key here is this part here should be wider than that part and a little bit at an angle. And draw that line really lightly right there because you have to erase most of it. Okay, this line is correct at an angle. You're trying not to overlap your feet so you don't have to deal with it. But if you do, if they overlap, you'll just do erasing. Okay, this foot is going to be a little closer to straight up in the air. Okay, I'm just making them in different positions. And then see how that has that angled look? We'd still have that angled look. Okay, it would come down like this. And then his thumb, which is webbed, we'll put the webbing in, would be more like a mitten. Do you see that? I'm going to actually bring that in just a little bit more. Okay, so this would be his webbing on like a thumb space. Okay, let's put in some detail here so you can really see what's going on. First of all, when you look at my hand, you're looking at the lines between the fingers, so we'll put those in. You need 3 because he has 4 fingers, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Notice how I curved them, okay? And this one here, 1, 2, 3. Now look what happened here. Do you see how that's too big there? Easy to fix. All you're going to do is just curve it over. Okay. This would actually be his pinky, so it's fine if you make it a little bit shorter. And there we go. Now I'm going to press hard so you guys can see better. But what you're going to do at the end is put a little curve in because we're going to add his coned shaped little toenails. So you should have 4 curves, 4 curves, and then this thumb. Now you're probably wondering, where's this thumb? It's actually behind the hand. It's over here. You cannot see it in the way this direction is. The thumbs are towards the center of the body, and it's disappearing. So all you want to do is just give him kind of a little nubby cone. It's really small. Don't think, oh, some big, long fingernail. They don't. They have really nubby little toenails. Now, once you get them done, look at them and see if they look similar in size to the rest. Okay, I know his thumb's over there, so this is my smallest one. They'll probably be easier for you if you just go ahead and shade them in, leaving a little bit of a highlight at the top. So just take your school pencil or sketching pencil, whichever one you're using, and just leave a little bit of a highlight. So that means the top of the little coned toenail is up there. See how cute that looks up at the tip. So just a little bit. You can always go in and rework it. So that's your basic shape. So now what we're going into is just details in your picture. He's in the water. You don't have to put a horizon line. This guy right here has a horizon line. You don't have to add one in. You could have it all water. So action lines are painted the same way as water lines. Basically, they're broken lines that are either horizontal, parallel with the bottom of the page, or they're curved horizontal lines like this that are nice and flat. If I go like this around the foot, it looks like the foot kind of puddled right out of the water. The key here, though, is remember they need to look very horizontal. If they start looking like this, you are not going to get the illusion that you want. They need to look very flat, okay, when you're putting them in. So you can put as many as you want in. They're broken lines, meaning that they don't touch each other. And this will give you kind of this little ripple, like he's sitting in the bay, and he's got these wonderful little lines coming in your picture. Okay, once you got that, we're doing pretty good. Well, we have the same issue with his little fingers. So we need 3 lines curving down to give him a kind of a roundedness. Okay, and same with here. 1, 2, 3. His thumb would be underneath. Then you just put a little curve at the end of every one. Now these little fingernails or toenails, however you want to visualize that, are littler. Okay, so they should be a little bit smaller. These are his little fingers. They're to help him hold on to whatever he's trying to eat. You could go ahead and shade most of them too, leaving just a little speck of white. That helps them visible, and it makes it look like there's a little highlight on each of them, which looks pretty cute. Okay, from here, it's details. It's all the little details that make him look amazing. So using a school pencil, you don't quite get the darkness that you would get in a drawing. If you switch and you want to do him in ink, notice how these are just really light little dashing. I used a ultra fine point Sharpie or an extra fine part Sharpie, just really short little lines filling in with ink. And leaving just little highlights on the nose so we can see where the nostrils are instead of filling it in. And then I just used some colored pencil on it, just a few shades. But if you're doing something like this one, to get that darkness, you really have to have a sketching pencil. But you can get close with a school pencil. And so I'm going to do mine with a school pencil so you can see the difference. So what you're going to do is you're just really going to give him some texture by zigzagging around his face like this. If you were choosing to use ink, you could just pick up ink right now. Now, what I mean about the nose is I like to just take a little line right around the nostrils like this. So then when I color in his nose, and by the way, it's kind of nice to leave a little highlight on the nose too. Check that out. See my little highlight on the nose? I left just a teeny bit of white so you can see where the nostrils are, where it catches on the edge of the nostril. This art here is actually pretty wide, so I'm going to fill this in. By the way, I'm using a school pencil. Not quite as dark, but still you can get the same effect. Then really dark in here, kind of fanning out like a sun. And getting less and less and less. Now it's up to you how smiley you make them with this. And this is really, you know, where his fur is. So I'm just going to bring in this little fur here. And then I'm going to go down the sides of his little jowls here, angling downward. And then off the end here. And off the end here. And give him a little bit across the bottom. Don't forget angling over here. I'm just using a zigzag going right over my pencil lines. Yours will look even better because you won't have the harsh line underneath to kind of cover up. Then in here, you'll have a little darkness inside the ear and a little darkness inside the ear here. Now when you're filling in your eyes, I really get them as black as I can, either with ink, with a sketching pencil, or pressing really hard with your school pencil, because this is going to take you a couple minutes. It's a big space to color in. Now I want to show you a little trick that makes your eyes look way better, and that is just giving just a little edge of light coming on the edge of the eye, which gives it a little bit of sparkle. So when you're coloring things, if you put any highlight on the right, it's always on the right. If you put it on the left, it's always on the left. So these are a little more right. So I'm going to put a little highlight right here. Watch, check this out. Just a little light edge there. See how that eye just has a little more sparkle to it? So I need to do it exactly the same place on the other side. And I like the way that little detail really makes him look. And here, when you're shading him with your pencil, remember you're going away from his face like he's a sun. So when you think the center of the sun and then coming outward, this is kind of the bridge of his nose coming forward. And this is going outward. So this would be going outward too. Just really trying to make him look more hairy. I can go up here around the sides, making this transition a little bit more blended, not so drastic. He's already starting to look so much cuter. Giving him a nice little furry face. Remember, otters have amazing fur. That's why we almost lost them, because all the trappers in the 1800s and early 1900s would basically hunt them for their fur because it was so warm. So fortunately they're protected now. Okay, and I think I'll even add a little bit of shading under his eyelid there. He's starting to look so much cuter. And I would continue this, you know, drawing in this area here a nice little zigzag. I even like to put it in between his toes and his fingers so the edges don't look smooth, getting all his edges to look like he's a little furry monster. I just think otters are so cute. If you really like a certain animal, I highly recommend you try to draw it many different ways. Looking away from you, looking down, swimming, whatever it does. You know, try to do it as many ways you can. Old, young, and just really study what makes each one look different. Like, how does the mommy look different than the baby? And how does the father look different than the mother? All those kind of things can make your drawings look so much better because you're actually really studying your object. Like this foot that looks more furry looks better than a line drawing. He does have a webbing right here, which is actually between his fingers, but you can't see it here. So I'm going to just shade that little webbing a little bit like that. And then I'm going to give him some more fur. I'm also going to give him fur here. You know, that's really going to increase his texture, which is going to make him look so much cuter. One of the reasons I show you different ways to do the same thing is because there's no right way in art. It's not like, oh, you should have done this. If yours is more animated, you're going to have a different look. All artists draw the same thing differently. In the summertime, when I used to teach art, I don't know if that'll happen this year, sometimes my daughters would work for me, and they would teach the same lesson, and their picture would look different than mine. And they'd even been taught by me. You can't possibly draw like your neighbor. You just can't. Your personality comes out in your drawings, and what you care about comes out in your drawings. You may not care about little details. I care more about details, so I draw that way. Everybody's a little different. You'll develop your own style over time, so just keep practicing and keep working on it. So when I'm putting in fur lines like this, I kind of think of the way that it grows. So if you were to pet an animal, would you pet him up to the side or down? You would pet him down, just like a dog. So you would actually take your hand like this and go down, so your lines should go like that. So in this area, you would go down his tummy, so your line should go down your tummy. That's going to make his fur look more realistic if the direction of them are the way the fur would grow. So on his hands, his fur would actually go towards the tip of the fingers, like that. So that's how I would put it in. And with art, you just keep working at it. Yep, it's work. It's actually work. The more you draw, the better you get at it, the more you work on your drawings. It's not something you should be able to finish really quickly to be a good artist. Good artists take a ton of time on their drawings. They rework their drawings, they draw it again and again and again till they like the way it looks. I showed you how many samples I had. I've drawn otters many times, even in the same position, and changed it up based on what I was trying to communicate. The otter with a heart was a Valentine's Day lesson. I oughta love you. So that's kind of cute. Or I oughta love you, however you want to do it. But that's why I was communicating something different. Okay, the last thing that's super important to make your otter look cute is his whiskers. Whiskers go downward, and you want to press kind of hard. And don't make them perfect. You know, maybe a little wild one here or there, like these. And there are a few little whiskers in here. The key is don't put as many whiskers as he really has, or he won't look good. It's just too much. Okay? These lines are pretty strong. So he has lots and lots of whiskers. So you can just decide how much you want to put in. You can do some little shading, really have a good time with it. Now I want you to see the difference between these two faces. This one has a darker pencil as well as some blending with the stump. This one is a school pencil. So you can see you can still get an adorable one. This is just if you want it to be a little darker and richer, you need these two tools. Not a tortillon, a stump, and a ebony pencil that's made by Prismacolor. Both are available through Amazon, as well as Dick Blick, as well as Michaels. And they're not expensive at all. They're pretty cheap. Okay? Okay, with that said, have a great day. I'm just going to review these, and you may freeze on the one that you like in case you're going to do ink, color pencil, make it more animated, whatever. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, have a good day.